T3, are you okay?
If the question is if I'm okay being recorded, yes. Yay. Um, hey y'all, how much time do I have here? Ho- ho- okay, 20, cool. Hey y'all, I'm Tristen Michael TJ Sarter III. That is a name bestowed upon me by my first home meeting. And my pronouns are neutral. My sobriety is positive. I use they, them pronouns because I feel like that is what accurately defines me. And what also accurately defines me is that I am in recovery. I'm in recovery from trauma. I'm in recovery from alcoholism and addiction. I have a tendency to be addicted to escapism, which is anything that will get me out of my body, whether it's a substance, a place, a person, a thing, or audiobooks. Like, really fucking love books because they transport me to a life that is not the life that I'm currently living. Because I spent a long time escaping my current life and my current body, my little meat golem that I'm piloting, because it was really uncomfortable. Uh, just to qualify a little bit from my my life, I grew up with really authoritarian parents, and I love them very much. They inherited broken tools and tried to teach me how to use them. They tried to prepare me for a world that they believed was the world. And they also I kind of grew up with this idea of like I needed to do more. I was a gifted and talented student. I was in all of these advanced courses, blah, blah, blah. I remember coming home with an A minus once and being told that if I tried a little harder, I would get an A plus. And if I got an A plus, I was told that I needed to look for extra credit because I needed to get the best grades possible. So I grew up with this inner mental paradigm of like the bar was not reachable because I was always aiming beyond the bar. So I grew up with a lot of like, what more can I do? What more can I do? Which translates into my alcoholism. I also grew up thinking that I didn't have a problem. I had food, I had clothes on my back, I had a home, I had really good schooling. My dad was in the military, so I went to military schools. So I grew up with this idea that like what I had was enough and that what I had was something to be grateful for, and also that my emotional needs were not things that I needed to have fulfilled. My parents, bless them, were not very emotionally attuned. We didn't talk about problems. We didn't talk about struggles. There wasn't space for me to be upset about something and have that be okay. I was bright-sided a lot. I was like, there are starving children in Africa, like sort of thing. Other people have worse problems than you. So that taught me that my experience wasn't valid, that somebody always had it worse. And I'm a big advocate for, look, you can drown in 6 inches of water or you can drown under 6 leagues. Either way, like you're suffering. It's not like the pain Olympics. But that was something that I grew up with. So I grew up thinking that my problem wasn't bad enough to warrant acknowledgement or help, which also ties into my alcoholism. I grew up, I bartended, I didn't start drinking until like my like mid 20s because I also grew up being like a good kid. I grew up trying really hard to cosplay as a good girl, get good grades, don't have sex, don't do drugs. You can rock and roll all you want, but you can't do those other things. I would walk out of the room or put on earmuffs anytime somebody was talking about something that thought I shouldn't know about. I remember walking out of the room when my friends were watching Jennifer's Body because I was really uncomfortable for some reason. I also grew up, I didn't hear the term LGBTQ until my junior year of high school, which is going to tie in pretty soon because I also grew up trying to be something for other people. I grew up trying to perform propriety. I grew up trying to conform to standards outside of myself that I was told were the way to be acceptable and therefore accepted. And Plot twist, I'm a weird little gremlin. Like, honestly, like in my adulthood, I'm kind of very similar to how I was as a child, just without the fucking bumpers. I climb trees. I pretend to do parkour. I am in my early 30s, and I've learned how to come back to play because I was taught that play was childish as a child and that I shouldn't do it. And I developed my drinking career around a lot of other people who normalized that culture for me. When I was in college, I remember drinking for the first time and everybody being really excited because they were like corrupting the good kid. They were like, oh, like Rigsy knows how to party. Like, that's so cool. And like, I wasn't accepted before that. I was like, I don't know if you've seen The Breakfast Club, but that weird girl like scrawling in the corner, like that was me for a long time. I was not not quite a social outcast because I was also very loud and very opinionated and was the kid who would always raise my hand in class because I always had the answer to the point where the teacher would be like, anybody else? So I wasn't unknown. I was just known as a trope of myself. I wasn't actually known for being myself. Uh, and I ended up dating a lot of men and trying really hard to be like cool with it. Like I loved them. They were good to me. They were very sweet, but I didn't them the same way they seemed to love me. And I felt a lot of shame about that because I couldn't understand why I wasn't happy. I couldn't understand like what was wrong. And when I started admitting to my boyfriends that like I think I like girls, they'd be like, "Oh, that's hot." And I'm like, "No, this is not for you." And also, I'm very confused. And like half the time would have to like not even half the time. I don't remember like especially in my 20s like I don't even remember having sober sex because like I would have to be like kind of sloshed and crossfaded to like do anything with my boyfriends because they didn't really interest me. Um, it felt like a chore that I was doing to keep other people happy. And that really fucked with me for a long time because I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And it took me a long time to just be like, girl, you're gay. Um, and when I started dating women or other gender nonconforming people, it was like a switch clicked. I was just like, oh, like this is what that's supposed to feel like. I now understand what it means to have butterflies. I now understand what it means to see somebody sleeping in the morning and watching the light on them and feeling my heart so full. And I didn't have that before. And then I also like remembered the things that my parents would tell me about gay people, about my grandmother telling me things about gay people, about how I was going to go to hell, how getting tattoos meant that I had invited Satan into my skin and my body, and my soul was going to burn in hell for all eternity. So, like, I just grew up with a lot of how I was wrong or bad or punishable somehow. And I coped with that by drinking. I coped with a lot of pain by drinking because it meant that I didn't have to feel anything. And I started at first, like I would drink with my coworkers. I would drink with I now recognize alcoholic boyfriend. I would drink as much as other people to try to fit in. And I didn't think it was a problem because it wasn't a problem for anybody else. I still had a job. I still performed very well. I was still able to make other people happy, except for me. And we're going to fast forward a little quick because I want to get to some solutions, but I ended up going to rehab. I had a job where I traveled a lot. I was very isolated for a little while. I had a bedroom at my parents' house because I would be traveling, 4 to 6 days a week and paying for an apartment that I would only be at for like, 5 days out of the month. Didn't really seem fiscally relevant or responsible to me. But what that meant was that I was with my parents who love me very much, but don't know or might not even be capable of meeting my social or emotional needs. I had a partner who lived in Seattle. who also, just before I went into rehab, I found out was diagnosed with an incurable form of cancer. All of my drinking corresponds, all of my levels of high drinking, like intense drinking, correlate with really traumatic periods in my life. And the cancer and the isolation were no exception. I was drinking alone on my days off because I wanted the time to pass, because I couldn't stand being in my body. I couldn't stand being alone. I wanted anything to get me out of my body, out of my head, out of the timeline that I was in. Fast forward a little bit more, I ended up going to rehab and I still didn't think I had a problem. I thought that I didn't have enough of a problem to warrant having help because I would listen to other people's stories while I was in treatment, and so many people had it so much worse. And then there were so many people that I would resonate with, or when I would tell my story, they would say, "Hey, me too. I think we have the same mom." And it took me a long time to digest the fact that I would look at these people who were similar to me and deeply believe that they were worthy of help, that they were worthy of having their story told, that they were worthy of compassion. But then what did that mean for me? Why couldn't I accept that for myself? Discomfort is a part of being alive. And I did not have very many tools for handling discomfort. It's very uncomfortable in my body. I have a lot of like very weird like body and face dysphoria. Uh, I really don't like being called girl unless it's in a gay way, like girl, because that is not who I am. And also, I've been belittled, I've been talked down to, I have been ignored or talked over because of the body that I'm in. I have a like small feminine body, and so people would treat me in the ways that they would because of how I presented. And in rehab, I'm going to be real. I was a menace. I did not like control. I did not like authority. I did not respect authority that had not earned my trust because I had all of these background like needs to act out from my childhood. And I started pushing back because I could. I'm very good at being put in a box and finding a way out. I'm very good at being given a set of unwittable circumstances and like clawing my way into having something for myself. But also, like, some of that came out in insane ways. When went to rehab, when I got out of detox, I found out that they were going to take my candy away and that I wasn't allowed to have sugar. So I took like the lining out of my bag and shoved a bunch of candy in it so that they would find it. And then I also cut holes in the actual padded lining of my bag and shoved candy in it and sewed it back up so I would know if they would find it. Because, like, I had such a need to not be controlled. I had such a need to be like, you're telling me I can't have this thing, but I'm going to make a way so that I can have it because that'll show you that you can't control me. That'll show me that I have some modicum of like agency within this structure that reality wise was built to contain me in a safe way, but I wasn't ready to accept yet. Just to illustrate like the lengths that I would go to maintain like control over like myself. We were allowed to have one pot of coffee for the entire house of like the rehab that I was in, and there were over 12 people. It's a 10 cup coffee maker, which does not 12 cups of coffee make. I would wait until the cabinet pantry was unlocked and I would steal like scoops of dried coffee grounds, put them in Ziploc bags, and tape them behind the paintings in the public rooms so that I could have coffee later. And I didn't even want it. The thing is, like, I didn't even use it. I would use it for other people when we were out of coffee. But the point is, I would go to such great lengths to exercise my own will when I felt as though I was not able to control myself or create my own boundaries. I have such a fucking authority issue. And it wasn't until I started to relax, started to talk to the people who were part of my program, started to generally accept that, like, oh, like this is nobody's keeping me here. I'm choosing to be here. This is a program that is supposed to help me like deal with a lot of things, and started actively participating in the program. At some point, like a lot of things changed for me, and I decided to dive in with both feet. And I'm very fortunate that I went to a pretty like holistic, like non-traditional treatment center. There were sound baths, there was meditation, there was yoga, there was a lot of learning how to be in the body, learning how to cope with discomfort, learning how to listen to other people's stories, learning how to like engage with the capacity that I had for discomfort and expand it. And I fucking hated it. I fucking hated being in my body because my body was not a safe place to be. And it took me like months to start to be able to feel actually in my body and not as though I was like floating above it, watching my life happen to me. And I attribute a lot of that to treatment and to AA. I don't really fuck with God. I don't really need to pray to Sky Daddy. I have a lot of like issues with traditional religions and like patriarchal like structures because I have an authority complex. But the program of the 12 steps in AA, I think is really brilliant in that it allows me a way to process and metabolize my shame. Because I can come into these rooms and I can tell you about the batshit things that I did in treatment that are like actually like in retrospect kind of funny, but like the batshit things that I would do and I don't feel bad about them. I don't need to be a good person. I don't need to be a bad person. I get to just be a person in a room full of strangers, and I get to not be afraid of that. AA gave me a place where I can engage with and acknowledge things that are my default ways of coping with things that I learned from having an unideal childhood, and to accept those things and not judge myself for them. It also expanded my capacity for compassion for myself because I learned that my problem doesn't have to be bad enough, that I can just have a problem and that I can ask for help, and I can also receive and accept that help, which are three different things. Asking for help, I fucking hate doing it because to me, for a long time, it meant that I had a weakness. Receiving help meant that I needed to pay you back somehow. Accepting help, I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still learning how to accept help without being squirrely or weird about it. But part of my journey in that is acknowledging that where I am now, I don't offer that which I am not willing to give. And if that is true for me, then that may be true for other people. And I've learned in accepting truths for me that I can offer them to other people. It has expanded my ability to be compassionate. It has expanded my capacity for other people's faults because I'm able to recognize my own and be like, yeah, that's not ideal, but like you can choose to do that or not. Because the fact is that I have a lot of like character traits that can that that came about from survivalism, that came about through inheriting these broken tools from my parents and using how to learning how to use them in like really fucking backhanded ways. I've also learned that every tool can be used, misused, or repurposed. I've learned that like I have an incredible capacity to be malicious and vindictive and resort to like weird psychological emotional warfare. Like I told somebody once, I was just sort of like, you know what? Like you can say anything that you want to be, but at least my dad still hugs me. Like, where are you coming from? Like I can be mean. I can be vicious. I can be absolutely fucking emotionally ruthless because I can sense where people's soft spots are and I know how to stick those needles in. But the thing is, I have all of those things and I get to choose how to use those things. If I can see the soft spots that people have, I can learn how to not pick up a knife. I can learn how to touch those softly. I can learn how to become curious about why they have those soft spots and where they came from. And that's something that AA gave me too, because in going through my fourth step, acknowledging my like defaults, my defects, my assets, which I think are just different words for the same thing. Like, for example, my rage fucking loves me. My rage wants to protect me. My rage will go at the jugular for anything that it thinks will cause me harm because it loves me. And I've had to learn how to pay attention to it the way that I would pay attention to a big dog. And I've had to learn how to train it and teach it that I'm in charge so that when my rage flares up, I can be like, oh, I feel as though I'm being threatened somewhere. But my rage is not inherently a defect. My rage is not inherently wrong. It is how I choose to respond to my rage, to listen to my rage, and to be curious about it that makes it into an asset. I've learned how to listen to so many different parts of me and also how to say them out loud to a group of strangers because I deeply believe that we all share different fractured parts of a larger story, which is really just the story of humanity. AA gave me a community. AA gave me a place to come home to anywhere that I am because AA gave me a community of people who are actively working to unearth and practice their humanity, to become accountable for the ways that they have caused harm through their default mechanisms, who have sought to atone for and make amends for and reprogram a lot of the ways that they previously used to live. And I think that is so fucking beautiful because a lot of normies don't have that, or at least don't have that in a community the same way that I get to have it in my 12-step programs. Talking about God a little bit, and recognizing that there is no timer and I'm suddenly aware of how much time I'm taking. And I think I have about 4 minutes left. Uh, I am so grateful. I am so humbled by the vulnerability that I witness in these rooms. I am made so gloriously small by the breadth and width of this community and by the passion that I hear about this program and about the recovery that people have been able to earn through walking these steps. I am so it's hard to quantify what this program has given me because AA may not have saved my life because I still had a life. I would have been able to function. I would have figured it out, but AA saved me, saved all of those little pieces of me that thought that they were wrong and deserving of punishment should they be shown. I learned that I get to be awkward. I get to not have a good day. I get to show up and like have not showered and be in bed and probably not have pants on and like cry and be like, I'm not okay and I don't need any solutions. I just need to say this out loud to somebody who can hear me because otherwise I'm just screaming into the void. And I got that here. And I also have been given the magnificent gift of being able to have the solidness of self to offer that space to other people without taking it up. to hear other people's stories and to be able to sit in the discomfort with that person instead of trying to rescue them or soothe them so that I no longer felt uncomfortable. It's given me you. It's given me the joy of looking forward to something. It's given me the joy of wanting to share something with my buddies who are also my friends, who are also my confidants, who are also my vault for things that I don't want to say out loud to other people, so that I can process those things and walk away and like move into the world without discharging that discomfort on people who don't deserve it. AA gave me a place where I could learn how to live beyond shame because I no longer think that I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm the problem. I think that my behaviors needed to be adjusted. And AA also gave me a way, especially like the non-denominational, like agnostic 12 steps, gave me a way to engage with my agency in a way where I could acknowledge that I get to choose and that I don't have to do it alone and that I wasn't made to do it alone. I'm so grateful. I am so grateful to be able to walk into any room and not have to say anything and learn everything that I needed to know that day. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit of what I've learned with you and how this is my 2 cents, however you choose to spend it. Like, I hope that it brings you some measure of peace, some measure of joy. I hope it opens up your capacity to have just that little bit more compassion for the people that challenge you and the ways you challenge yourself. Thank you so much for participating in my sobriety and allowing me to participate in yours. I think my time is up, and I'm really grateful to spend more time with you. Mwah.